Welcome to TEPSA Talk, the podcast where leaders inspire, share, and grow together. TEPSA is dedicated to celebrating the incredible work happening in education. Each episode, we dive into meaningful conversations with leaders, change-makers, and innovators who are shaping the future of our schools. Whether you're looking for fresh ideas, encouragement, or a little spark to fuel your passion, TEPSA Talk is here for you. Imagine tuning in to hear how leaders are revolutionizing their schools, tackling challenges head-on, and fostering a culture of collaboration. Grab a coffee, hit play, and let's grow together. Welcome to TEPSA Talk.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the TEPSA Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Nesloney, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are thrilled each week to bring you different thought leaders from around the world. And this week, we have a personal friend of mine who I'm so excited to have on here because she is a fantastic leader here in the state of Texas. And that is the one, the only Vanakin. Vanakin, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody a little bit about you before we get started.
Thank you for having me. So my name's Vanikin Leggett, formerly Vanikin Sanders. I am a elementary principal in Navasota ISD. I have only worked in Navasota ISD. The one cool thing, I grew up in Navasota, so I graduated high school from Navasota in 2007 and went to A&M and came back to give back to my community, and I have been here ever since. So this is year 16 with the district, 9 years as the principal at Bruley Elementary.
And mama to one of the cutest little boys as well.
Yes, he is. He just turned 3, and he is a hot mess. 2s were terrible, but I think 3s are just as terrible.
I can attest to that for sure. Well, Vanakin, when we have these conversations, I love to kind of hear people's journey to where they are today. And I know you've shared already that, this is the town you grew up in, things like that. But you were a teacher, and then at some point, leadership got into your path. Was that something that you were like, I kind of want to seek this out. This may be my vibe. Or were you kind of encouraged to jump into that? What was your journey into becoming an administrator?
As far as I could remember, I always wanted to be a teacher. So my mom actually retired from the district last year as a paraprofessional in special ed for many, many years, 40 years. So 40 years in the district. So I am not 40 yet, but as long as I could remember, she has worked in the district. So we've been at the school in Navasota. And so I knew when I was in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher, Miss Brack, who passed away last school year, she was one of the reasons. Like, you remember a lot of things growing up, but I remember that in kindergarten I wanted to be a teacher because of her and my mom. And I had my aunts and my grandma worked in the district as a cafeteria worker for many years and retired. And so I always knew that I wanted to be an educator. And when I finished high school, went to A&M education program, and then I was a teacher at John C. Webb. And so my very first job that I interviewed for was here, actually, at Bruley Elementary. It was the intermediate school at the time. And I left that interview. I wanted to be a 4th grade teacher so bad. And the interview was terrible. Like, the worst interview I ever had. And so I interviewed at John C. Webb Elementary with Mr. Murray, and he, even before I could leave the interview, told me that I had a job. And so I took that job. Great experience, young 21-year-old teacher. I had so much fun. And then once we got during that time, I knew that I wanted to go back to school. Like, people who like school, like, I'm one of the people who like school. So, like, if our superintendent or anybody says, you want to go to a training and nobody wants to go, I'll go. Like, I want to learn. And so I knew I needed to go back. I knew I wasn't really into counseling. Like, there's 2 things. You can do leadership, you can do counseling. I knew I didn't really want to be a counselor, so I went back to school to be a principal, and I interviewed for my first assistant principal job when our district was reconstituted and didn't get the job. So I taught fourth grade for a year, and the God has a plan, and so I taught fourth grade for 1 year, so that was my fifth year of teaching, and then I got the job as the assistant principal. It was the most amazing thing. Like, I am so blessed to have been here for so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are so many connections that I have made with teachers and parents and students. And when you have a high school student that comes back at the end of the year when they're walking through the halls and they're like, Miss Sanders, because I was Miss Sanders, and they're so excited to see you, and you can see that they're doing well, that was it. And even now, like, I went back to school after I had my 3-year-old. He was about 3 months old. I had told my husband I wanted to go to school for my superintendency, and I was like, well, he's a little young. Maybe I'll wait a little bit, like, and maybe I'll see if I want to go back to get my doctorate. And then something popped up on an email, and I was like, that was my sign. So I looked at
Uh-huh.
last school year, and so that was a great eye-opening experience. Being a principal is hard, but I feel like as a principal, we do have so many, especially with TEPSA, we have so many people that we're able to make connections with, that we can reach out to, like maybe not in the same district, but going through a superintendency program, the pool of superintendents is so much smaller. And just, it opened my eyes. There are so many things sometimes we don't understand. Like, as a teacher, I didn't understand anything that the principal was doing. Like, we just kind of were like, I don't know why they're doing this. We should do this. Well, then you move up to the principal and you understand, like, this is why we couldn't get X, Y, and Z, because
Yep.
it wasn't in the budget that we submitted a year ago, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then going through the superintendency program, that same eye-opening experience of, there are so many things that come into play in education that we don't necessarily understand when we're not going through it, but having those connections with people that are
Yeah.
going through it is so, so, so very helpful.
Well, I love that you brought up connections, because I think that what is something that's unique about your story, and it's also super personal to you, is that, like we've alluded to earlier, you grew up in Navasota. You graduated from Navasota. Your families all worked in the schools, and you came back after college and was like, I want to work here. I want to invest here. And even though there are other bigger cities around that you could pursue opportunities at, if that was of interest to you, that's not something that you see as part of your path right now. Talk to us a little bit about when you made that decision and why that's so important to you, just to stay where you've been planted and just continue grow there.
Yeah, so I believe that God has a plan. Firm believer in God, and my dad's a minister, and when I decided to become a teacher, I knew I wanted to be in Navasota. And a small town, people, I can make a lot more money somewhere else.
Yeah.
We know that. But I do know that I wanted to give back to kids that live right by me, because when I first started teaching, I still lived in Navasota, and there were kids in my backyard. And that's one of the reasons when we reconstituted and made Bruley, I wanted to go to Bruley, because the kids that live in the neighborhood that I grew up in, all those kids are here at Bruley. And I wanted to make sure they saw me and I was able to build those connections with them. And that has been one of the greatest things, being able to watch kids grow from pre-K to 12th grade. Like, even right now, there's I think about a picture I recently saw of a student. She has siblings here now, and now she's driving them to school. And I looked at that picture that we took together when she was in kindergarten. She is a senior in high school. And in kindergarten, when she was here at Bruley, I would call her my cousin. She doesn't look anything like me. We definitely are not cousins. And I see her now even, and I'm like, hey, cousin, how are you doing? And she's a senior in high school, and just looking at how she's grown, and not just her, but all of the kids, looking at them as they are growing is such a rewarding experience to still be here to see that. Yes, if I was somewhere else, my parents, I live here. My parents are from here. I would see them all the time, but just being able to see them more often because I didn't leave, even though I could. Is the job hard? I'm pretty sure no matter where I am, the job is going to be hard. But left because I want to make a difference in the kids that look like me. And I want the kids to be able to say, "Hey, Miss Leggett, how are you doing?" Or "What are you doing?" Or I go into Walmart and you see and they're talking or they're acting horrible for their parents, and I can give them a look, and all of a sudden they're acting right.
Yeah.
That is so rewarding, and watching them grow is one of the biggest blessings, I think, from being the principal and staying in the district.
Well, I love that story though, because I love that anybody you talk to, there's no one path that's right for everybody. And I love that you can hear stories, people where they're like, oh yeah, and this opportunity went over here and I moved there. This opportunity was like, that's great. And
Yes.
they did so good in that. But on the other side, it's also fun to hear stories like you, where you're like, this is where I was born and raised. This is where I'm going to die. Like, this is where I love to be, to really inspire these kids, connect with these families. And I think both sides of that are needed.
Yes.
And so I love that you shared some of that. And so, I've got to ask though, Vanakin, and I know I can ask you, you're Region 6 president for TEPSA. You are principal. You are getting your superintendent certification. You've got a young child at home. You've got a husband. You got all these things happening, and you still are standing upright. You're still showing up for work. How do you maintain all of those things without destroying any energy you have left?
Biggest support system that anybody could have. My Because my family is here. Like right now, my mom retired last school year, and she picks my kid up every single day from daycare, which in itself is a blessing. So I can stay late, I can do the meetings and not have to worry about my kid. My husband is super supportive when I'm gone to the trainings, and he understands everything that's going on. But I also think the connections that I have been able to make. So being in Navasota, because it's such a small town, yes, I have 5 to 7 principals and assistant principals in the district. But the connections I have made from TEPSA, I think, is the biggest thing that has helped me to stay grounded and rooted and be able to be who I am today, because I can call the principal from Sealy, I can call somebody from TEPSA if I needed a question or I needed an idea. And even just something as small as for 2 years, I couldn't go to the TEPSA summer conference because there was another conference that our superintendent needed us to go to the
Right.
Region Center, which I learned a lot there.
Yeah.
But I was so sad I could not go to TEPSA. Like when I hear principals say, I'm not going to go to this TEPSA summer conference this year, I'm like, what?
Right.
There
Same.
are
Same. I'm like, it's my favorite.
what are you talking about? You're just not going to go. I just didn't get any. You didn't get anything out of it. Like, what were you doing? Like,
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
like learning and pulling stuff. And then me and my assistant principal, Amy Carpentier, have been principal and assistant principal for the last 7 years. And so we're like bouncing ideas off of each other and coming back. And she's still off work when I come back from TEPSA. And we're like, we're going to do this and this and this. And how do we do this? And so, I think that's the biggest thing, like having those connections with people in other districts through TEPSA and even through my superintendency program has helped me be the most grounded, because things happen everywhere. It's not just like
Yeah.
good and bad. Things
Yeah.
happen in Navasota, but good and bad things happen in College Station and Brenham and all of the places.
Yep.
And being able to talk to somebody about, well, how did you do that? That has been the biggest thing, because I have a support system of my family, my principal friends, and even being in Navasota for so long, my teachers are like my family. Like I have the least amount of turnover rate in the district for teachers, And we have all been together for so long that I'm able to be myself, but also I have so many teachers and parents and even students sometimes that are holding me accountable to make sure we're doing what's best for kids. And also doing what's best for adults, because we can't forget the adults. At the end of the day, the teachers, yes, I am the principal of the school, but the real people who are running the school is the teachers, the staff, the paraprofessionals. They are doing the real work. And so I've been blessed to have such an amazing staff in order to help me be free, but also be able to say, I need a break.
Yeah.
I just need a day. Like,
Yeah.
So that's been really
I
great.
love, but I love, I mean, it's such an easy thing to realize that it's the people you put around you that
Yes.
help you through this thing.
Yes.
And that's why the principalship is what you make it. You can
Mhm.
make it this island where you're
Yes.
on it by yourself and you feel like you're drowning and you don't know what to do, or you can put forth the effort, like you said, to have those friends, those connections, those different organizations you're a part of, conferences you go to do more than just exist in those spaces, but instead to build relationships in those spaces. So that's such good advice, Vanikin. Well, as we wrap this conversation up, I like to always end them the same way. And that is, if people listen to us today and got all this great stuff because you had lots of good things to say, but they only walk away with one thing, what is the one thing you have for our listeners today?
I think leadership, like one of the things I've been thinking about, leadership is not about position, it's about impact. How we lead, however that is, how are we impacting those around us? How are we impacting other leaders, our staff, our parents, our community? And I think when I think about why I've been in Navasota for so long is because I really want to make an impact in my community that raised me. And so when you think about the job, I know people move up for different reasons, but it's not about the position. It's about the impact you're making in the community that you are serving. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me.
I love it. Well, Vanikin, thank you so much for being a guest on our TEPSA Talk podcast this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening or watching another episode. Don't forget, join us for our 2026 TEPSA Summer Conference coming in June. Registration is open, so go ahead and get registered and join us at the conference. We will see you there in June. Otherwise, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Todd.